Alright everyone, welcome back again to more of the Hungry Lamb. I believe we're very close to beating this game. I just recently checked how far along we are, and we're at the 70% range, so that's giving us a good hint as to how close we are. And at the same time, I still don't know what ending I'll be getting. At the moment, we're learning a lot, and we just separate from the girls as well, and I don't know if we're going to follow through on having Mansui actually go and kill the demon swine. Who's to say? But that's why we're all here. We're going to continue on and see what's what. So if anything else, hope you all enjoy. Thank you again for all love and support. Let's do this. We walked by the river through the dark, dirty alleys of Luoyang. Many people wearing ragged clothes, wrapped up in hay, sleeping on the side of the road. They were sprawled out or curled up, some even lying face down, not making a peep. Most of them were alone. But a few were huddled with families, keeping warm together. They seemed more likely to be alive and sleeping than the others. It was hard to tell if they were asleep or dead. If they were asleep, they might not be far from death. If they were dead, at least they were resting peacefully. The Vermilion Gate reeks of meat and wine. By the roadside, the starved and the frozen lie. I heard this saying somewhere. Now, thinking about it, it fits Luoyang to a T. In the city, some get your grain, then they can gobble, and they are so stuffed that they can turn to eating little girls alive. Yet others go hungry, starving to death right on the streets. Is this the intended way of the world? After all the disasters, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Is this how the world's supposed to be? I reckon I've really changed. A few months back, I wouldn't even think twice about this. Back then, in this world of chaos, all I cared about was staying alive. I'd do whatever it took to survive, even if it meant sacrificing others. Except for not killing women or kids. I had almost no limits. But now, after killing Tung and selling those little girls, it's tough for me to go back to the killing trade. Whenever it comes to killing someone, maybe I'll feel a twinge of mercy. Because, you know, the ones I off might be somebody's father or son. What made me change? Was it this journey of a mere month? Was it those lambs? Was it shadow play? Or was it her? I couldn't help glancing over at Mansui beside me. Hey lass, I called out. She kept walking quietly, lost in her own world.
怎么了，良爷？
She raised her eyes, looking at me with confusion. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, but it seemed like her eyes were red. Was this lass thinking about something? Thought about it. I'm not selling you. I said to her, each word deliberate.
不卖我了。
She seemed to struggle to believe what I was saying. She tilted her head slightly, looking at me with confusion. Yeah, not selling you. Thought about it, but selling you won't fetch much. How about this? You stick with me from now on. We head south together till we get to... All of a sudden, I heard a huge bang. It caught me off mid-sentence. Fireworks shot up into the night sky, bursting against the black backdrop of the night. Red, yellow, and purple lights all mixed together, blooming like chrysanthemums. My heart raced for a moment. The burst of fireworks caught me off guard. For a moment, I pictured the explosion back in the capital. Blood rain, buildings falling, countless souls lost in an instant. But it didn't last. Soon enough, I shook it off and came back to reality.
不行的，
Just as I was caught off guard by the sudden fireworks, Mansui suddenly spoke up. No? That's probably her response to my earlier idea. I suggested to her that I wouldn't sell her anymore, but instead I wanted to head south with her. Though I hadn't really figured out what to do with her after that. Would we make a living together doing shadow plays? Or would I find her a good future in some prosperous southern place? I didn't know. And I was a bit lost about the future. But I didn't expect this lass to just say no outright. Why not? I asked, taken aback.
我
She was about to talk when another firework popped in the night sky. The noise from them fireworks was so loud it drowned out her words. Damn, annoying. I felt a bit irritated towards these fireworks I've been waiting for so long. What did you say just now? I raised my voice, asking her loud and clear. She turned and looked at me.
良爷， 我要先去解个手，你在这里等我一下。
Ah, so this is the part where she does something reckless. She lifted her head and spoke slowly. At this hour? Alright, hurry up. I glanced around, unsure where the outhouse was. But she probably wouldn't mind. Another firework burst into the sky. The fireworks painted the whole of Luoyang in dazzling colors, truly beautiful. But the loud noise made it impossible to talk normally. Annoying. Got some things to say. I'll chat with her later. And we'll never see her again. Maybe. After I agreed to let her go, Mansui bolted off. Funny thing, worrying about not getting to talk to her made me realize I wasn't afraid of fireworks anymore. The images of that big explosion from years ago, which had briefly flashed in my mind just now, didn't come back. Seems like I've finally shaken off that old nightmare. After waiting a bit longer, memories of what happened about 20 days ago crept into my mind. That day, we just left Huazhou and were wandering around Mount Huashan. That night, she said she needed to go pee too. I turned away and she tried to stab me with a dagger. That last could be ruthless. She was kind to those little girls and even showed pity to the beggars we just encountered. So why was she so quick to try and kill me? Why is it taking so long? About an instant's time had passed. The fireworks ended, but Mansui still hadn't come back. Puzzled, I stepped out into the street. Lass? I walked out of the alley, crossed the river, and arrived in the dense bushes. She wasn't there. Didn't seem like she went to pee here. Mansui? I pushed through the bushes, past a few houses, and checked a couple of outhouses. Still no sign of her. Where are you? I went back the way we came, looking around as I went. Still couldn't find her. She left, my dude. She's gone. Really gone. Just like when the fireworks went off, she tricked me again. That lass acted like she needed to pee, then vanished. Fell for it again. This time, she didn't try to stab me. She just disappeared into the Luoyang fireworks.
Sawyer.
Oh, great. More flashbacks. I don't need another tragic, moments. They hurt. Amidst the darkness, I heard Mom's voice. I opened my eyes. Mom was leaning against my bed while grabbing my sweaty arms. She furrowed her brows with a worried look. I had a nightmare. Because the dream I had just had, I woke up drenched in cold sweat and my head was buzzing. I reached out and touched my face, feeling 2 streaks of tears on it. I must have cried in my sleep.
穗儿，睡得好好的，你怎么就哭了？
娘，我刚才做了一个噩梦。
噩梦？
I recounted the dream I just had to my mother, my voice trembling and choked with sobs. That dream was really scary. In the dream, our family experienced a great calamity, and none of us had anything to eat. Dad went somewhere far to sell the family heirloom in exchange for some food, but he never came back. And sometime after that, my younger brother died. Mom went mad as well and cooked my brother's flesh. I thought Mom was going to kill me, so I went out to find some wild grass for her to eat. When I returned, I found out Mom had hung herself.
嘘，不要再说了。穗儿，怎么能说这么不吉利的事儿？一会儿你爹回家听到了，可要揍你。
I described my dream to Mom, and the more she listened, the angrier she got. She thought the dream I described was ominous and made a gesture as if she was going to hit me.
爹爹什么时候回来呀？
I squinted my eyes when I dodged Mom's fake move and asked about Dad. I really wanted to see Dad. I was worried that something might happen to him like it did in my dream.
Sir!
At this moment, I suddenly heard my dad shout. Dad stepped into the door carrying a huge bag on his back and a warm smile on his face.
爹爹，
I immediately got out of bed, dashed over, and hugged Dad's thigh.
哎，Sir 乖啊，爹爹回来了。
Dad smiled and stroked my head.
怎么，你把传家宝卖了吗？卖了多少钱？
Mom asked Dad somewhat eagerly, wanting to know how much he sold the family heirloom for.
没卖，
Dad gave her a hearty laugh.
啊？为什么没卖？
因为这个传家宝是无价之宝，有了它，我们一直都能吃饱，肯定不能卖啊。
Dad spoke with a smile, joyfully glancing at the bag behind him. He put the bag in the bed and took the family heirloom out of it. The family heirloom was a piece of grayish-white meat with concentric ring patterns on it. It wiggled slowly as if it was alive.
棍儿，你总算发现传家宝的妙用了。
Grandma suddenly popped out of nowhere, praising Dad in a mysterious manner.
爹爹，为什么这个能让我们一直吃饱呀？
My brother also asked Dad curiously as he held onto my dad's other thigh. Grandma and my brother appeared all of a sudden. I wasn't sure where they were hiding before. I actually didn't see them at all.
哎呀，说来话长了。其实啊，我本来是打算把这传家宝卖了。
It's very telling that all her family members have no faces, which also, you know, screams the fact that this is another dream.
可出去的第一天晚上，我抱她睡的时候，听到了神仙的声音。神仙说，这传家宝是他钓的神仙肉，他心善，想要救咱们家，便教给我用这肉的方法。他说，把这肉泡在水里煮，它就会越煮越多，吃多少长多少，根本吃不完的。
Dad excitedly shared with us, his eyes gleaming with joy.
这么好的事，哎，那我们快煮了这肉啊！穗儿，你去劈柴。
When she heard it, Mom also shared Dad's joy. She quickly urged me to go chop some wood. Seeing them like that, I also felt overjoyed. However, I also felt a bit worried. Even if the deity allowed us to eat its meat, is it still fine to eat it? Nothing would happen to us, right? What exactly does deity meat taste like? With a curious mindset, I gathered dry firewood in a corner of the house.
姐姐，拿这个劈。
My brother handed me a knife. This knife didn't look like it was used to chop wood. Instead, it looked like a cleaver for chopping meat.
劈柴的刀呢？没有，只有这一把了。
My brother looked at me and smiled, revealing his canines. He must be playing mean intentionally and making it hard for me to chop wood. That was why he gave me this cleaver instead. But whatever, I didn't want to scold him. I took the cleaver anyway. It could be used to chop wood if I exerted more force. I swung the cleaver in my hand, chopping the firewood. Every time I chopped a piece of wood, my brother would throw it into the stove. As I chopped the wood, I still glanced at Dad beside me. Dad was making a fire nearby, preparing to cook the deity meat in the pot. He chatted here and there with Mom and speculated about how the deity meat would taste. After a long while, I had worked so hard that my clothes were drenched with sweat, but I finally chopped all that wood.
爹爹，这神仙肉真的会越煮越多吗？
I threw the last piece of firewood under the pot, and then asked Dad skeptically.
当然会了，不信你过来看呐。
Dad smiled while he spoke, and he made a gesture for me to come and see. I wiped off the sweat from my forehead, threw away the cleaver, and then leaned over the pot to check it out. The pot was boiling, the broth simmering, and the deity meat bobbing up and down. I kept staring at it. Initially, I didn't notice much meat, but gradually, as the deity meat was cooked, it actually multiplied into a bunch of pork. I shouted happily. I was drooling nonstop while I looked at the cooked pork.
多了，真的多了。
肉多的都冒出来了，快拿碗来盛肉。
Mom and brother talked while gathered around the pot. Dad then grabbed a bowl to serve the meat to us.
来，穗儿先吃一块，彩儿再吃一块，连云吃一块，咱娘再吃一块。
Dad kept serving us meat, dividing it among the bowls. I took the bowl Dad handed me and started eating the meat. I took a bite of the meat born from the deity meat. This meat looked and smelled like pork, but it tasted a bit different. The meat was tougher, making it difficult to bite into. But I was too hungry, and it had been so long since I had meat, so I bit a huge chunk. Only after the meat went down my stomach and I got the aftertaste of it did I realize there was a sour taste to it. Ugh. Oh no. so sour and so gamey. The smell of the meat born from the daily meat reminded me of the kitten's meat that we cooked at home not long ago. Although I didn't eat it, I remember that smell by heart. Even your cat has no face. Huh? Suddenly, I heard the kitten meowing. The kitten that I once had suddenly came up to my feet and started meowing at me. She rubbed her head against me in a joyful manner, then sat down, wagged her tail, and licked her paw. I must have remembered it wrong. How can you lick her paw? She has no face. It turned out we actually never ate the kitten.
姐姐，煮的肉好吃吗？还行，挺好吃的。
You just said it had a sour note to it.
穗儿，也来吃吃这块生肉吧。我试了一块，味道可好了，比煮熟了要好吃。
I'm betting she's hallucinating right now and she's eating people meat. My brother and mother handed me pieces of meat one after another. My brother gave me cooked meat while my mother gave me raw meat. What? I'd already tried the cooked meat by now and I think I had a bit too much of it. So I became interested in the raw meat and stared at the piece my mother had.
娘，这块肉是怎么来的？
你劈柴的时候，我砍了一块神仙肉，它自己长出来的。
啊？爹爹不是说了，得丢在锅里煮，肉才会越来越多吗？
哎呀，因为咱们家有福，神仙多赏给咱们的。
Dad explained to me while smiling. Upon hearing Dad's words, I felt relieved of any suspicion and became even happier. So I moved closer to Mom and started nibbling on the piece of raw meat she handed me. The raw meat cradled in my mother's palm was pink. It was like a greedy kitten, burying my head in her hand and biting directly into the meat she handed me. It was a bit hard to bite into, however, it was really delicious. Mom was right. The meat from the daily meat didn't necessarily have to be cooked. It was delicious raw too. Eating it raw allowed me to fully appreciate the meat's flavor. As I chewed, I could feel the taste of blood surging to my head, bringing waves of exhilaration. I quickly devoured the meat. I was scared to starve again, so I kept eating, not daring to stop for a second. Every time I finished a piece, Mom passed me a new one. It seemed we indeed didn't have to worry about being hungry.
穗儿，慢点吃就行，不着急。
Mom saw how I devoured the meat and laughed softly. Dad, Grandma, and the kitten also laughed. I didn't respond to them and just buried myself in the meat as I kept eating. I was really starving. I need to keep eating non-stop. However, after I dug in for a little while, I noticed something unusual.
娘，
怎么了？
I spat out the thing I just ate. It was strands of dark fiber in my hand, and I picked them up to examine them closely. I thought they were wild grass at first, but then upon closer inspection, they startled me.
娘，有点不对劲。
怎么不对劲了？
这神仙肉里怎么长了你的头发？
Oh no. With teary eyes, I asked Mom in a trembling voice. After I asked that question, it seemed like my mom froze in place. Her once gentle smile became stiff, and she remained motionless like a statue. Dad, Grandma, my little brother, and even the kitten, who were all laughing moments ago, stopped moving, as though they'd become a painting. I was living in a painting, the only one capable of moving. I screamed in horror and raised my hands to tear apart the canvas before me. Shadows swirled around me as my fantasy quickly shattered and crumbled. It was all a lie. There was no one else. I sat alone in the empty house. I held the cleaver in my left hand and a lump of flesh in my right. I froze in place motionless. Thick blood oozed through the gaps in my palm, dripping onto the floor with a steady rhythm. Flies came buzzing around, sickening me. The pungent smell of blood filled the room, saturating every breath. Darkness crept up my arms little by little, consuming every inch of my skin. I wasn't hungry anymore. Exhaustion, weakness, and the sensation of skin covering my hands disappeared, but in their place was a more unpleasant discomfort. I retched, unsure if it was due to nausea or sorrow. I tried hard to vomit. I wanted to puke something out, but my efforts were in vain. Perhaps my stomach knew what I needed better than my brain. It wouldn't let me puke anything that would keep me alive. Mom, little bro, Sorry. I'm sorry. I was so hungry. So hungry that I couldn't tell. Sorry. I didn't mean to do it. You won't blame me, right? I knew it. Ah, I knew it. No. Why'd you eat the mom and brother? I can't blame her though. She was hallucinating and it was already too late for her. Say something. Anything. Say something. Early in the morning, I stepped out of the house leaving bloody footprints. I stepped on fallen leaves and mud until I reached a cliff about half a mile from home. The wind was cold on the cliff, and below it was pitch black, making it impossible to gauge its depth. The night wind brushed against me, and I felt alive in a way I never had before. It was also the first time I felt such a profound sense of wanting not to be alive. The kitten, Grandma, Dad, my little brother, Mom, they were all gone. It was all like a nightmare. I wanted to wake up from that nightmare. So long as I jumped from this cliff, I'd wake up. Just jump. I took a step forward. My eyes were closed, but I stopped with my foot in midair. It's alright, Sui. You're not gonna starve to death. You're gonna survive and live a very long life. I wasn't sure why, but when I was about to jump, the words Dad had said to me back then echoed in my ears. His voice lingered, making me feel nostalgic. Dad, where exactly did you go? Dad, why didn't you come back? I wasn't sure if Dad was really dead or not. He spoke to me before I was going to jump off the cliff. That made me feel like he might still be alive. If Dad was still alive, then I should be too. Then one day, I'll find him. I'll tell him of all the agony I've gone through. Then we'll continue on living, as long as we have each other. If Dad died, if he was murdered, then I would get revenge for Dad for our family. I would kill whoever killed him. No, I must kill the bastard. Early the next morning, I cut off half my hair with a knife and carried the knife with me. To be able to stay alive longer, I knelt and begged for family's forgiveness. I then brought parts of my brother and my mom with me in my bag on my back. Finally, I set a fire, burned the house down, and embarked on my journey. I died. The past me starved to death in this house. I was a corpse that died of hunger. I survived. The current me, with the help of my family, had survived and was someone who would move forward. I needed to be alive. I wasn't staying alive for myself, but for my family members who passed away. I needed to find the truth about Dad not coming back. If I couldn't find Dad, or if I couldn't find out Dad was already dead, then I must seek revenge for my family and become the retribution for the sworn enemy who murdered Dad. That was the only reason for the dead me to continue living. The fireworks had finished and the curfew was approaching in Luoyang. The lights in the city were extinguishing one by one. Street vendors were packing up their stalls, discussing how much silver they had earned that day. Soldiers were banging their drums, announcing the curfew before midnight, but pedestrians on the road continued their leisurely strolling. Adults held the children by their hands, and youth supported the elderly. People in the city walked in pairs or groups, chatting and laughing as they headed home. Beggars gathered together, huddling in corners. Some were already asleep, while others watched the passers-by returning home, their eyes revealing a hint of envy. I felt out of place among the people of the city. I hurriedly navigated through the crowd, walking against the flow of people, searching for the figure I had just lost. Monsui was gone. She had mentioned needing to relieve herself during the fireworks, but then she disappeared. I couldn't understand why she had vanished. She had indeed run off, but I couldn't fathom why. I wasn't planning on selling her anymore, and I wasn't going to send her to her death at the hands of the swine demon, nor make her a child bride. So why did she run? Had she encountered some danger like being abducted? That was a possibility. However, she was always very cautious, and it was hard for me to imagine her being kidnapped. I searched through the nearby slums, run-down temples, and under bridges, encountering many refugees and beggars, but I didn't find her. Where on earth had she gone? It was time for curfew in the city. The streets were deserted. The night watchmen patrolled, banging their drums and repeating the same phrases. It was forbidden to be outside during curfew, If caught by the night watchman, one would face punishment, so I had no choice but to return to the inn first. Well, I'll try looking for her again tomorrow. I've been searching for nearly 2 hours now and still couldn't find her. She probably wasn't abducted. Even if she were, I shouldn't worry too much. That brat was quite clever. It shouldn't take long for her to figure her way out of safety. If she truly wanted to leave her on her own, then so be it. Perhaps she just simply didn't want to stay with me anymore. I'll get some rest first. I lay in my bed repeating reassuring words over and over in my mind, but I still couldn't fall asleep after a while. I got up, checked the latch on the room door and made sure my blade was by my side, and then went back to bed. Just sleep. Whatever, I'll figure it out tomorrow. The darkness quickly pulled my consciousness into slumber. Not long after, I fell asleep and my consciousness also slipped into a dream. Heavy rain poured down in torrents. The sound of the rain was like a continuous stream. It was as if the sky had split open, and raindrops cascaded down like beads from the sky. It had been a long time since I had seen such a rain. I was standing on the street in Luoyang, wearing a straw raincoat and a bamboo hat. This place should have been bustling, but now was deserted due to the rain. I walked forward aimlessly, trying to find a place to stay, but came across a strange sight. The sides of the road were littered with corpses, all of which were people I had killed. Most had their throats slit, some were missing limbs, and a few were cleaved in half. Their deaths gruesome beyond imagination. They were mostly men. Their eyes and mouths were half open, crawling, pleading, and crying in my direction. Their faces, once forgotten, were now vivid in my memory. 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30. There were so many of them. Their final breaths were long overdue, but hushed whispers still escaped their mouths. I could vaguely catch their words. They were cursing me, wishing for my demise. So annoying. So damn annoying. I hastened my pace, dashing through the rain, desperate to leave those people behind and never see them again. During the 2 years when I was fleeing from the famine, I killed people because I had no choice. For each life I took, I saved another. Sometimes I had to kill people to save my own life. During the years when I was a bandit, I also killed people because I had no choice. What else could a homeless man like me do? What else was I supposed to do besides banditry to survive? Now, I'm becoming a good person. I did good things. I helped those kids. So I'm not a wolf anymore. I'll be a good person from now on and I'll stop killing people. Don't bother me anymore. I kept repeating that in my mind, my steps getting faster and faster. Finally, I shook off those people I'd killed. A soft breeze passed by, causing me to pause in my tracks. The sky remained dark, as if the entire sky was on the verge of collapsing, ready to crush the entire city. However, the rain stopped. The instant the rain stopped, I shook off those people. I saw a familiar figure. At the far end of the road stood a slender figure. Mansui. Mansui was standing at the far end of the street in Luoyang, with her back toward me. She was standing on the street just after it had rained. The pavement reflected her figure like a bronze mirror, making her look as though she was standing on a river. She was soaked, maybe drenched from the storm. Her hair, matted with water, clung to the nape of her neck. Droplets covered her body, and wet clothes clung to her skin, clearly outlining her slender figure. Hey, little brat. I quickly took steps forward, trying to approach her. Regardless, the appearance of the little brat still put me at ease. I got closer and reached out to pat her shoulder. She shivered, seemingly surprised by my touch, but she didn't turn back. Why didn't she turn back and look at me? Suddenly, the rain intensified, pounding down harder than before. If the earlier rainfall was like someone smashing an abacus in the sky, this one was like a tearing apart the curtain of heaven. Raindrops fell relentlessly from the sky, threatening to engulf the entire city. What the hell kind of rain is this? Nervously, I looked around, noticing the water level rising beneath my feet. The water passed my ankles, my calves, and my knees, and kept rising. The entire city seemed to be submerged in torrents of river. Panic washed over me. Hey! I walked up and tried to grab the little brat's hand. She was short after all. It would be easy for her to submerge by the rapidly surging water level. However, the instant my hand touched hers, her figure began to blur gradually. While her body became blurry, she finally turned her head to gaze at me. Her expression seemed to be crying, yet a faint smile tugged at her lips. Her eyes were tinged with regret and resentment, but her face wore an indifference of disillusionment with life and death. What exactly did you want to say? What exactly did you want to do? I gazed at her confused. I couldn't understand her expression, then nor grasp what was on her mind. She vanished bit by bit, and I wanted to stop it all. Hey, little brat! Don't disappear! Don't disappear! I shouted at her as loud as I could, but my voice was drowned out by the storm. I called her name over and over again, but it was no use. Eventually, she still vanished. Ah! I woke up from the dream. I was sitting on the bed in the inn, my back soaked with cold sweat. What was that dream? I had a dream. A dream about that little brat. What did that dream mean? I didn't really get its meaning. I wiped the sweat from my forehead and scrambled out of bed. I grabbed my blade, packed my belongings, and then headed to the inn's lobby, intending to leave. Glancing out the people on the street from the inn's lobby, I saw the bustling activity indicating it was at least mid-morning. How come I got up this late? Let's go find that little brat again today. Last night's dream intensified the sense of uneasiness in my heart. At this moment, I simply wanted to find her immediately.
哎，客官，等等，
The waiter at the inn called out to me when I was about to leave. What is it? I furrowed my brow and asked the waiter, feeling a bit confused.
客官，您昨天来办住店时，身旁是不是跟着一个小女娃？
The waiter asked me carefully. I instantly felt a pang of anxiety. Yeah, I did. What happened? Was she here just now?
对，她是在城中想了不久后来的。那娃子塞给我一吊钱，想托我给您留个东西。
What's that? I stared blankly at the waiter. The waiter handed me a small bag. Could it be that she's returning the shoes that I gave her? I took a guess as I looked at the small bundle. The size of the bundle didn't seem right for shoes. I slowly unwrapped the bundle, and the thing inside caught me by surprise. It was a pouch. The pouch was red, sewn together with patches, yet it looked new, adorned with the pale character of on top. Is this... I mumbled to myself while looking at the pouch. A sudden stab of pain shot through my temple. In an instant, memories I thought I had forgotten flooded back into my mind. 4 years ago, in the last few months of 1628, I encountered a man in the mountains. That man was dressed like a peasant from northern Shan, wearing a bamboo hat and carrying a bag on his back. Oh no! You killed her dad! Oh no! Oh god! She's gonna kill you now! He kept going west at a brisk pace. He wiped the sweat off his forehead as he walked, his eyes filled with eager anticipation. Suddenly, I dashed out from the bushes and tackled him to the ground. Without waiting for him to say something, I plunged the dagger into his heart and pressed all my weight on him. Oh no! He struggled desperately, trying to grab my dagger and get me off of him. At the same time, his eyes were fixed on me, almost on the brink of tears, pleading with fear for me not to kill him. When I killed, I often avoided the gaze of the victim, so I took off his hat and covered his face with it, refusing to look at him. In the end, I dressed his head with the hat in one hand, while tightly gripping the dagger plunged into his heart with the other. He struggled violently for a bit, kicked his legs twice, then went completely still. After he died, I searched his body and found a small red pouch. The pouch was tiny, embroidered with a light-colored character, on it. I remembered this pouch. I sold this pouch a long time ago. At the time, after killing that man, I carried this pouch with me for more than a year. After a year, since I didn't take on any jobs for 2 months and was a bit strapped for cash, I sold this pouch to a dodgy pawn shop in Huazhou. Before Mansui left, she specifically left me this pouch. What did she want to tell me? Did she have anything to do with this pouch? Did she have anything to do with the man back then? Could it be? She's that man's daughter? She and that man indeed looked a bit alike. How would you know? You said you didn't look at him. Plus, if she really were the daughter of that man, then a lot of things could make sense. I stood in shock, carefully sorting through my memories of her. What? That night we left Wazao City, she pretended that she wanted a peace so she could assassinate me. She only softened after her assassination attempt failed, and I threw away the blade. She told me about her life story, taught me shadow play, and learned about my experiences. I became more acquainted with her along the way. As we spent more time together, she subtly changed me. After that, I killed Tung for the girls, trying to secure a better life for them, even though I might not get much money out of it. And I wasn't planning on selling her anymore. Gradually, I transformed into a better person. I no longer desired the life of a bandit and wanted to start anew. She said a lot of things, but perhaps not much was true. The swine demon killed her sister and destroyed her entire family. These were probably fake. Her age, her background, and the things she said were probably all fake. The purpose of her approaching me was only to avenge her father. But why didn't she kill me after that? Why? Did she just leave like that? There was indeed a lack of opportunity in the beginning. After all, she rushed into things on the very first day and tried to kill me. I was still very wary of her at the time. I threw away her blade but still kept an eye on her. However, why didn't she try to kill me again after that? While we were staying at the inn in Haizao, she had the opportunity to steal a kitchen knife. On the wagon in Luoyang, she could have easily killed me while I was sound asleep. Why didn't she kill me? I clenched the pouch tightly. Guilt, fear, confusion, sadness, and bewilderment. Various tumultuous emotions made it difficult for me to find peace. I didn't know what her logic was in doing these things. Why didn't she kill me after all? Why did she leave by herself? Why did she give me this pouch in the end? What exactly did she want? I just didn't get it. Besides asking you to give me this thing, did she say anything else? I asked the waiter in a trembling voice, trying to gather more intel to figure out her intent.
啊，说了什么吗？没说什么呀。
Think hard.
哎呀，客官，他真没说什么，他就说把这个东西留给你，别的什么都没说。
I nodded, grabbed my luggage, and left without a word. I thought this little brat would leave me a message or something, but nope. Why? Actually, I'm her sworn enemy because I murdered her father. But then she just left without doing anything. What on earth was the significance of her deed? I had no idea, but still decided to go out and look around. I planned to retrace the steps we took yesterday, ask people who might have seen us, and then look for her again. If I could find her, I would be able to ask her and unravel all the unanswered mysteries. Though I had no idea how I was going to face her. Should I apologize or try to explain? I didn't know. I first went to the market where the temple fair was held yesterday. The market today lacked the vibrancy of last night. Scattered individuals were cleaning the ground, while small vendors were setting up stalls and calling out their wares, with occasional passers-by pausing briefly. I revisited the riverside where she and I had been yesterday. Yesterday, we had encountered a beggar family with a little girl here, but we got robbed. I looked around, but it didn't seem like the beggar family were there. There was only an elderly man fishing by the riverside, his eyes half closed. While I was staring at the elderly man and hesitated to ask, a voice sounded from behind me. Oh, it's you. The beggar girl from yesterday came out of nowhere and stood behind me. I gave her a quick look and greeted her. You're not hungry today?
用你给的银子买了大饼，不饿了。
The bigger girl smiled and blinked her eyes. As she spoke, she took out a palm-sized pancake from her pocket and showed it to me.
你在找人吗？在找昨天那个娃？
Yeah, I'm looking for her. Have you seen her?
当然见过啊，
You have? When?
昨天的时候，她跟你一起的。
I was initially thrilled when I heard she had seen Mansui. However, what she meant by I've seen her actually happened yesterday. That left me a bit disappointed.
还有今天的时候，我也见过她。
Just as I was getting disappointed, the beggar girl mentioned that she had seen her today as well. Today? When?
我不会算时间，大概就是很早的时候，瞧见她沿着河边走。
The beggar girl pointed me toward a road. Strictly speaking, that wasn't exactly giving direction. She was pointing out the entire road along the riverbank. Thank you. Nevertheless, I still thanked her and quickly set off. I had a lead.